that partially gets me on to my question of the week here, which is this recent and intense desire for authenticity in works of culture more quelling of ignorance or limiting to creativity?
Sorry, you used a lot of big words there, so I have to think for a
Yeah.
second.
Yeah, but to reiterate, is trying so hard to be authentic making people less ignorant, or is it just stifling creativity? Like, well, if I do something set in feudal Japan, now I'm going to feel obligated to make it as historically accurate as possible, where that might stifle some creativity but I'll get blasted for being inauthentic. Or is authenticity more important just because people are less ignorant if it's actually done properly? Like, is one outweighing the other now?
I think it's just more of the changing of the times. Like we saw with the change in Parasite, and that the authenticity is sort of now being more embraced. And I hear what you're saying. It is sort of...
But is authenticity the be-all and end-all is what I'm saying. Is it like, it is a good
Probably.
thing. I'm not saying it's not, but is authenticity better than just free reign to do whatever?
I mean, put it like that, it doesn't sound good, but I feel like if you're trying to adapt something from, like, say you're trying to adapt a story from, like, feudal Japan, but you're not willing to do any of the research or even try to do some of the translation or even just do it, like, full, everybody speaks in English. Like, even if, the only way I could see it being accepted if it's in full English, if it's just because we're, like, it's a Westerner who actually cares about the story, but, like, if it was a movie, probably knows it won't be received that... It's just weird because I think it's just a changing of the times where people are now being more accepting of watching these international films, being more authentic, and being recognized more, especially in the Oscars.
Well, here's just an example.
I don't think it's damning on... Like, if you're going to... Like, why are you trying to adapt a story if you're not going to be creative about it? You know what I mean?
Okay, so here's just an example off the top of my head about this specific show. James Clavell is, well, just according to this brief search I did of him, he's an Australian. Yeah, he was born in Australia. So he's an Australian guy writing about Japan, and I'm pretty sure this book came out in the mid-70s. And I haven't done much research into Shogun. I don't know if that book is very extremely historically accurate. I know this show went out of its way to hire a lot of consultants. Like, I saw they even had gesture consultants for all the actors, like everything from the actors opening the screen doors for people was tailored to be the gestures of the time period. Like, they really went above and beyond for authenticity in the show. But I don't even know if the original work it's based on had that level of authenticity. But also, this show probably wouldn't be getting made without that original work, which may be less authentic nowadays. So it's one of those things where if we're judging by modern authenticity, that original work may not have even been made, if that's the standard we're going to.
Well, yeah, I think, like, people can be smart enough to recognize the turning of it ever being authentic now, but still respecting, like, times, like, of, you know, like, of the past, of, like, Hollywood not being as authentic as possible, because there's still some great, you know, movies out there that aren't, like, fully translated or fully in a foreign language. But I don't think it should limit your creativity to try to be as authentic as possible. Like, it just seems like kind of like it kind of seems like you're trying to come up with a way to blame yourself for not being I'm not saying you personally.
Yeah, just
For being like creatively inept. So I it's an interesting question that you pose, but I just feel like if you're not going to try to, like, say someone wanted to adapt, like someone wanted to do a mini series on the Odyssey, but cut out all of the dialogue and cut out all of the, like, I get not, they don't even have to speak in like ancient Greece because that's fucking impossible, but just like cut out the language of the book and just went full on Western, like joking and sort of like modern, I guess, Marvel joking stuff, that the lack of authenticity of that is going to divert people away in terms of it being like critically well received. But if someone who is like really into the Odyssey tries to make it as authentic as possible, it's going to grant more praise towards it. I think that just comes with it. As authentic you are to the source material, you're just going to get more praise.
Okay, well, here's a counterpoint.
You're adapting it one for one.
I got a counterpoint for you from less. Let's take something like science fiction, right? There's a lot of arguments about hard science fiction versus soft science fiction, and I do think you could still argue it falls under the realm of authenticity, because I've heard somebody say this to me before about Star Trek, where they're like, actually, I get immersion broken when I see them walking around the starships because artificial gravity doesn't exist. And stuff like that, like artificial gravity is inauthentic.
Well, then you're just
but if you take that out of sci-fi,
person.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, artificial gravity doesn't exist, but you take it out of something like sci-fi, and it's like, okay, fine. If we're making a hard sci-fi book, yeah, sure, it shouldn't be in there because we don't know how to do that, and you don't have a basis for it. But should works of cultural authenticity be treated the same way? There's like books more hard cultural, like hard sci-fi versus soft sci-fi. There's books that are like, okay, this one is obviously in its marketing and its approach, it's going for more a hard approach to accurate culture versus one that's more upfront about, yeah, I'm playing fast and loose with it. But just going in, you know that, and it's okay, just like as a genre thing, like sci-fi does. Is that an option?
Yeah, but like sci-fi is not, a lot of it's not based in reality. Like, I can't levitate this mug in front of me with
but that's what I'm saying,
because that's not real. Yeah. That's authenticity does not mean reality in terms of like adapting like a sci-fi story. It's not really the same thing.
I think you could make an argument. That's what I'm trying to argue.
I think you can make the argument because you're a devil's advocate.
A story, to me, a story at its core is about the human emotions behind it. Do I relate to the characters? Do I relate to the story being told? Does it emotionally impact me? The setting is kind of just window dressing on that. And if you're basing it in a real place, people are going to be more critical of it. But I don't necessarily believe it has to be one for one. Now, mind you, this is me just playing devil advocate. I do agree with you that if you're going to set something in a real place, you ought to make an effort to make that place as realistic as you can manage. But I don't know if you should be obligated to. As long as you're upfront about...
Should you not be all obligated to write something smart and grounded in reality?
But that's what I'm saying, though. If it's
crazy off the deep end. Like, so you want to be known for writing something shitty?
Yeah, but the funny thing is sometimes people don't even know what's up, right? Like, I remember somebody telling me they were writing a novel once, and it was set in medieval times, and they're like, oh wow, in medieval times they have indoor plumbing. They did have that, but it was like they kind of were looking into it, and they're like, oh no, people like your publishers will tell you can't include stuff like that because generally held opinion is they didn't. So even if it's true, people still are like, oh, it's immersion breaking because I don't think that's true, even though it is. So even when you put actual facts in the book, if commonly held consensus is, I don't believe that's really true, people still have their immersion broken. So sometimes you can't win either way. If it's true, people don't even believe it. And if it's not true, people get mad at it for being inauthentic. So sometimes you can't win either way. So sometimes I'm like, well, just do what you want then.
I don't know. I think you're grasping at straws here, if I'm being honest with you. Maybe. I think you're trying to create a problem where there is none. Like, I understand, like, the indoor plumbing.
I'm just arguing it out.
But it's like, okay, but if there was indoor plumbing, and like there kind of was, but there wasn't at the same time. It's not this like same indoor plumbing as we have now. But it's like, yeah, like I get it, but if it's like, and then if people do their research and like, oh, this is an actual thing, like, oh, I guess they're being authentic. So, okay, cool. And I know a lot of people don't do their research, and there's a lot of keyboard warriors out there who just like to scream on Twitter. But it's just like, if you can tell when effort is being put into a show or a project, I should say. And when you feel, it's kind of subjective at the same time. It's like when you feel that authenticity, it just immerses you more into the project. Like, I think, I'm trying to think of like a sci-fi example that's just way too fucking wacky that like broke my immersion, but I just can't right now. Because a lot of it's kind of like, oh, probably like, this is a really weird one, but like one of the first episodes of the Magic School Bus, one of the kids takes his helmet off in space and it becomes like an ice sculpture. And then later on, he's able to be revived somehow. It's just like, okay, that's weird. But also you're a kid. So maybe a kid show wasn't a good example to bring up. But it's just, yeah, it's all about intent, I think, as well. Yeah. Like, what is your intention with what you're trying to tell here? With Shogun, their intention was to tell the story as authentic as possible. And I think with some of these projects, I keep bashing them every week, but with Halo, I think their intent is just to tell a fucking crazy sci-fi story, even though they don't really care about the world that they bought the rights for.
Can somebody keep a counter of how many times Ryan's bashed Halo in a row for these episodes?
I feel like you're on a streak. I think I'm on at least 6. Like you're 6 on or 7 in a row.
I think you're on at least 4 in a row. Maybe even
until they
more.
Cancel the show or they redo the like Neil Blomkamp movie that was supposed to come out like 10 years ago that looked really good. I will not stop bashing this show as a true fan of the franchise.
Yeah. Well, okay, I am grasping at straws a little bit just to play devil's advocate, but my actual belief on it is if I'm consuming something and it's wrong and it's inauthentic, I don't actually care that much as long as the story is well written. The details and world building aren't as big a deal to me. World building is very important to some people. For me, I'm more focused on characters and story. I don't really care personally, but I do appreciate when effort is put in. I think Shogun is great when I can say, oh, I really enjoyed that. Oh, and having looked more into it, it's actually pretty accurate. That's impressive. I respect that. It probably wouldn't impact my enjoyment because I don't know what's authentic either way, but having looked into it more, it makes me respect it more. But if it was completely inauthentic and it was still decently written, I wouldn't care. And that's the honest truth.
All right. That's fair.